Hello and welcome. This is Rufamonger. And my friends, in today's video, I want to talk about one Lord Goichi. Goichi, famously pound for pound the best player in Dragon Ball FighterZ history, and he has been making a little bit of some waves lately. So, in case you are not aware, very recently, Goichi and Fenrich, another top Japanese player, have had a first to 10 offline set. And obviously, anything offline, well, hasn't been happening at all in the last few months, right? It's a great set of games. If you want to check out the first to 10, I'll link it in my video description. You can check it out there. But what was very special about it was the tactics that Goichi was using. There is some minor hullabaloo, because one, he is using the Kid Buu C assist, and some people are still very divisive on C assist, but he was busting out the Ginyu. And not only was he busting out the Ginyu, he was doing some really, well, honestly, high level, really thought out advanced stuff, and that's exactly what we're going to be talking about in this video. I specifically want to break down one setup he was going for because he went for it multiple times, and I just want to go over it because it's frankly ingenious. It's a great setup. It doesn't matter who's on screen necessarily because it always ends with Ginyu and insane Ginyu pressure. So I want to show you how to get to the setup, and then I want to show you the Ginyu pressure, how to do it, and why it's so good. So now, first up here, let's talk about the team composition. So the way Goichi plays it, he has Bardock, Captain Ginyu, and Kid Buu. Now the Bardock part is basically optional. It has nothing to do with Bardock itself, other than the fact that he likes playing the character, you know, very famous for playing the character, and he's just basically there to facilitate everything else happening. So what you do need is, you do need Ginyu, obviously, because it's a whole Ginyu setup, and Kid Buu is the guy who gets it really going. So let's show a basic example here of how to start the setup. So once again here, yes, Goichi is playing Bardock, it doesn't really matter. All you need to do is any combo, it doesn't matter at all, as long as that combo gives you sliding knockdown. So you can be any character, any combo you so choose, it doesn't really matter, but that's the crux of it, right? So you're going to use your character that you prefer to get that sliding knockdown, and from there, we're going to be using our ultimate Z-change mechanic here. So when you hit a foe, and then you tag out to a completely different character. And now, if you're not aware, that is just simply half circle forward and the assist button for level 1, and half circle backwards with the assist button if you want level 3 instead. So we're going to be using that character sliding knockdown. We're going to call specifically Kid Buu, and then into Ginyu. So we're going to get something like that, right? So Ginyu does his level 1 super, and Kid Buu obviously doing his level 1 super, and Ginyu gets to recover in neutral while Kid Buu is still actively doing super. So while Kid Buu super is happening, I can do whatever I want, and that's going to be a big part of the setup. Now, back in the day, we'd only ever really look in this kind of setup in one specific way. Like, oh, cool, double supers, right? We wouldn't really worry about anything else. I can get my double super, that's neat. Of course, now double super is not very worthwhile here, but we're using the time that would normally allow for that double super to get all the Ginyu Force set up and have them just set up shop on the screen. So when it's all said and done, this is what it's going to look like. You're going to Z-change to Kid Buu, call Ginyu, and immediately as soon as he recovers, we call Guldo, we call Raccoon. Now you might have noticed there also, Guldo appeared behind Nappa. Normally that is not the case. The specifics of the Kid Buu call in that exact situation open up just the tiniest gap for Guldo to just be behind the enemy. And while it's not the be-all, end-all, it just makes him a lot safer and adds another layer of safety to the setup. So now that all explained here, so we had that specific knockdown here, we have that specific super call, we call into Ginyu and go from there. What does it all mean? Well, what it means is two parts here. One, whatever your point character is, and you got your damage, and you got 2 supers worth of damage out of it, right? So the enemy is going to be hurting. Now, part 2 is this, the Ginyu pressure setup afterwards, because there's very little as a defender you can do other than just hold it and just guess correctly. And if you guess incorrectly, considering the damage you just took previously, it's a lost character. Very similar to how like a lot of old Season 1 stuff worked for level 3s, right? Guess wrong, dead character. It's basically at that point. It doesn't involve a level 3, but for the point of you guessing, there's a lot of high-low throw situations you have to work through, and if you guess wrong on any of them, the character is gone. So let's go through all the permutations of that now. Now here I am on the defensive end of things, and let's just show you the setup here and just why it kind of works the way it works here in slow motion. So here's Super 1, here's Super 2, and now let's look at the setup. So now, as you saw in slow-mo, the Guldo call is actually very meaty, meaning it's active before the defending player can really do anything about it. Now, you probably think layer 1 here. Well, can I reflect? Absolutely, 100%. But the reflect, well, it doesn't really get you anywhere because Ginyu has long since returned to neutral, and Recoome is still about to blast you something fierce. Now you might think, well, okay, layer 2, right? Well, how about I just up-tech out of it? Well, here's the thing. You can't. Guldo's hitbox is pretty high up, so even on an up-tech, as you see here, still get bopped. I can block it just fine, sure, right? But blocking us doesn't really get us anywhere because, once again, Ginyu has returned the neutral. He has options to low, he go options to overhead, and Recoome's right behind him, locking you down even further in place. Now here, what about this situation, right? Up-tech's not great, reflect not optimal, but how about we just say screw it, we go nuclear and just wake up level 3, right? That's always fun. Here's the thing about that. What you're going to find is in a lot, but not every situation, something like this is probably going to happen. Remember how Guldo's behind you? Well, about that. Yeah. Is that worth 3 bars? Probably not. So we got the initial invincibility off, sure, but, you know, Guldo just kind of bumped us from behind, right? And you're going to find in a lot of cases that's exactly how it works, because your invincibility just runs out, and that's all she wrote to it. Now, there's a couple of level 3s that does work fine with, to escape, rather. Like Tien, specifically, because Tien, well, he's basically not on the screen, right? His move happens, then he reappears on the screen, so he's not as subject to it. But a lot of characters with anything invincible, it's going to be the case. Your invincibility runs out, Guldo hits you anyways. In the case of invincible reversals, like an uppercut or whatever, that doesn't get rid of Recoome, because if you hit Ginyu, the Ginyu Force members don't go away. You have to hit them directly, right? So invincible options, not that great. What about reflect into tagging a partner? Well, here's another thing. Doesn't work out so good for you. Great idea on paper, absolutely, but here is the reality of the situation. Ginyu blocks the tag, and Recoome blasts you, and you get comboed out. And I think I belabored the point enough here, so on and so forth. Delay attack, whatever. The general crux is here. Ginyu's recovered just fine, and Recoome is behind them charging up, right? So there's no real way out of this, which is the problem, right? And now you have to deal with Ginyu's options afterwards, so let's look at those. Alright, so now with everything shown here, let's just go over the basics of Ginyu's options. Now that we know for the defender, not so much to work with. So we call Guldo, we call Recoome, right? And during that time, the enemy has to block, because if they didn't block well, then you're eating a combo anyways. And at that point, well, then the world's your oyster, right? So I recover before you do on the block, so I can definitely hit a button first and win. If you think you're cute and like double reflect or something like that, well, I can just wait the double reflect out and punish it, because you'll just reflect straight air. I don't have to commit to anything right off the bat, and you know I can move first, so there's no point in challenging me on buttons. And of course, if I was just so inclined, I could just Dragon Rush right away, and it'll connect before Recoome's laser goes off, right? So now we got to think about cracking open the shell. So like layer 1 is just go for the low right away, and then that connects. Layer 2 is, well, I'll just go for the overhead. That connects. Layer 3 is like I can do a jab, then go for a low, and that connects. Just so you don't have to worry about the manual low timing versus the manual overhead timing. Conversely, same idea, same kind of timing. I can jab and go for the overhead, and if you didn't block high, then you get cranked, and then the Recoome blast goes off. There's just a lot of layers. Once again, I can just go like low, and then go for another low. I can delay a low, and then into the overhead. I can do my stand H, which is also low thanks to Season 3 for different timing. There's multiple layers of timing, and one of the best things about this too is Recoome, the laser itself, it's difficult to make out what's happening behind that laser. You don't have to do anything in the fastest possible timing. So like if he does it and then I do it for a low, you definitely didn't see that low, right? And if I do it and then I wait a split second, then go for the overhead, well, it's very difficult to see the overhead. So even though Ginyu definitely not traditional sense a high-low character, like he doesn't even have a low hitting down L, right? In this specific scenario, you really got to guess for your life. And now let's say any of this hit, right? Now we got some pretty big combo potential. So we did Guldo, we did Recoome, so that means Birder is now next up on deck, and we can get a pretty big combo conversion from this. So yeah, the damage, if you get that conversion, it's pretty real. And I didn't even attack a super at the end of that, right? So considering whatever your point character is that started this whole mess, if you get this conversion, you've got a dead character for sure, right? So it's definitely harkening back to the days of Season 1 where if you guess the mix wrong, then you're definitely in big trouble after that level 3, right? Not quite 1-to-1, but in essence, it's recreated in a way. And from this setup, once again here, all I had to do is just crack you open once. It doesn't matter what it is, and at that point, I just go into my medium shoulder, Ginyu Force Call, do the combo, that's all she wrote. And of course, there's even more to it than just what I showed you right there. After that, the Recoome say they just want to hold back and block everything, right? And they manage to hold on. Well, once Recoome's done, right, afterwards, you can go for like instant overhead, and it'll beat its safe jump timing effectively, like they can't get it down heavy off fast enough. You can go for another overhead or low or whatever. Go for a Dragon Rush. Like the ball's still absolutely 100% in your court if they ride through everything. So yeah, it's already strong enough for Ginyu if he can get this off by himself. But the beauty of this whole setup and the true genius of Goichi just kind of doing this, because there's been setups for Ginyu like this in the past, right? Like calling Guldo into calling Recoome and doing pressure, that part isn't new. But the fact that like, hey, I'm Bardock or anyone else you want to be, and I'm going to do the heavy lifting and neutral till I get my hit. And then after it's all said and done, then I'm going to smack you to the ground, Z-change out, and then just call Ginyu. Ginyu didn't have to be anywhere on the screen. He didn't have to work for any of this. And you get all the benefits of Ginyu's insane corner pressure, regardless of who you were to start with to get that first hit. So there you go. That is basically one layer of Captain Ginyu's offense. So there's quite a bit to it, as you can see. Good on Goichi for just building a team to make all this nonsense possible. Goichi, obviously one of the true geniuses of the game, and happy to see him playing some more offline events. And hopefully, you know, we can get offline events in the future, as even though Season 3 of Dragon Ball, in my opinion, is the best the game's ever been, it certainly hasn't had much of a chance to showcase it due to the situations around the world, what with tournaments and all that going away. And online play, it could definitely be better, but you know what? Hopefully things get better on that end. Bandai Namco, Arc System definitely know. And hey, I don't know. I just hope things turn out better, because Dragon Ball needs to have more time to showcase what it can do, because even years after the games just coming out, we're still getting crazy setups, we're still getting crazy teams, and there's just still so much to this game, and that's one of the best things about it. But anyways, my friends, I guess I'm rambling enough at this point. So you know what, hey, thanks for watching. Hope this video has found you well. Go out and play some Dragon Ball.